This is AC Starlord, aka Awesome. Welcome back to my channel. And you can see behind me, this is Fantastic Four, but not the Fantastic Four that is about to be in theaters. What? Isn't that crazy? Not the Fantastic Four that you knew, that you're knowing now on trailers and stuff like that. Isn't that just weird and wild that I'm doing that? Isn't it? No, this is a rewatch review of Fantastic Four 2005, and this was a fun movie. You had Chris Evans, obviously being the Human Torch. We have Mr. Fantastic, don't know who he is or the actor. I've seen this guy in a couple TV shows that has been playing Ben Grimm as the Thing. You have Jessica Alba as the Visible Woman, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, Ben Grimm, Reed Richards, and the other Fantastic Four. And you also have Doctor Doom in here, which also was fantastic in here. And I forgot how fun and amazing and fantastic this movie is really was back then. I remember watching this in theaters back in the day in 2000 and 2005. I even picked up my very first ever few ever my first few Fantastic Four comics, really old ones. To be hyped for this, I also have like the Thing and Human Torch toy still in my collection of toys for when I have kids of my own one day, or just give them off to someone else that may want them. If I ever have kids, may want them for the future when they have kids. I'm like, here's a whole bunch of Ninja Turtles and Human Torch and the Thing and all that stuff, Spider-Man. But also, what brings me back memories is watching this and then watching Spider-Man and then watching the X-Men. Even though Spider-Man was from Sony, but still, like you had Spider-Man, you had the 20th Century Fox X-Men, and you had the 20th Century Fox um, Fantastic Four. So like, this movie was just again rewatching it was just amazing because I forgot how cool and amazing this was, and it's just like early 2005, the technology of making even Chris Evans the Human Torch was probably not to par that we have today. This is practical effects of the Thing being the Thing. Now, the guy who's playing the Thing now just has to wear a motion capture suit, and then he's the Thing. Um, for the same thing with Jessica Alba making her invisible, making his arms stretch out. Like that's a lot of technology back then that they had, but it wasn't modern technology. Same thing with Doctor Doom. But like this movie was just back then was like epic. I mean, at least to me. I mean, so you still had then we had Spider-Man before that. We had the other Spider-Man movies and we had X-Men movies. But then we're all like, okay, we had those. Where's the next Fantastic Four? And they made one, which I'm also going to do a rewatch on that too. But like this one's just basically an origin story of these characters. If you did not read the comics or whatnot, this is his origin story. I mean, I had a few old ones to go off of, and then like over time, I built up comic books and comic books like Spider-Man, Batman, Superman, Fantastic Four was one of them in there as well. But basically, this has been much the origin story of these all these characters and told from a different way because these characters are from like the 1960s, and that's what the new one is doing. They're doing more the 1960s style, but I do like the modern day look. I do like the modern day look what they give them in this one of like modern 2005, and it's just a different look of these characters. But every character, every superhero character from Marvel or DC gets a a revamped look. Um, like Superman right now is All-Star Superman Kingdom Come, but also still has that old classic Christopher Reeves theme, but also like um keeps true to the original the original movie. Like it felt like the Christopher Reeves movie. And that's what I'm hoping for Fantastic Four. Hopefully it feels a lot like this, but also more like in the realm of the 60s. Um, but this brought me back to when I had was so hyped for it because I got a comic book and then I got after seeing the movie, I got a toy after it. I always wanted to rewatch it and rewatch it and rewatch it, and I rewatched it so many times. As much as I did with like Spider-Man and the X-Men and Ghost Rider. Like I said, I didn't even mention Ghost Rider. Even watch Ghost Rider over and over again. these old Fox movies that weren't in the MCU right away were so fun to watch because there was no like, oh, we have to watch the next movie for MC. Like, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing for the MCU. Like, I enjoy that too. We have to watch the next movie to do our homework, to understand what's going on in the next movie. But like these movies, you didn't have to do your homework. You just expect them to make this movie, watch it, and then if they make a sequel, they make a sequel. If they don't, they don't. It's a one-off, and you just go off and okay, we have Spider-Man over here that's making a part two. You have X-Men they're making a part two of, and you have Ghost Rider, and then boom, bada bang, that was it. But like they did make a sequel to this, and it only got a sequel, and then they rebooted it once again, Fan Four Stick, which also wasn't very, for some audiences, not very good. But I mean, I enjoyed some things of it, but not everything about it. But the fact that they call it Fan Four Stick because they put the four right in the middle of fantastic. Um, this to me was always going to be a good Fantastic Four movie, and quoted from a friend of mine, this is a classic, and it is. It is a classic. I mean, it's 2005. Early years of good movies, some good movies out there. Um, Early years of Marvel making their stamp on the world as we all know them today. And their movies have been, well, up, now they're down. But they had the stamp of their world. They had the stamp of the world of the stamp of the world back then with this one and the Spider-Man, X-Men, on all that stuff I've been mentioning. The reason why I'm doing that because like the 20th Century Fox were only just Fantastic Four and X-Men, so you had those elements over there, you had Spider-Man on the other side of the world. But like these are movies that we watched and thought, oh, these could be interconnected one day, and they are now. They are not interconnected because of the MCU, but the pressures of not having MCU back then was kind of good, but also kind of not good because some people like that. But for me, I'm glad that I'm in the fandom of both realms because I was here seeing this movie way before this new one's coming out, and this one was good. Like you had perfect casting for Johnny Storm as Chris Evans, Sue Storm, Jessica Alba was perfect casting. The guy who played the Thing was good casting. Same thing with the Mr. Fantastic was good casting. Doctor Doom was, and it made it feel like a comic book movie. It made it feel like a old fashioned comic book movie, a classic comic book movie that you can sit back and watch. Like I watched this when I was probably in sixth grade and junior high. I watched this movie as much as I watched Spider-Man. Like this and Spider-Man were like the two top movies I rewatched almost every year, almost every single time I felt like I was sick and I needed some superhero cheering up or whatever. This was like comfort movie when I was sick. And I'm like a little bit stuffed up right now. So I'm like, it brought me back to those times as well. But even when I'm not sick, I just sat down and watched these movies just because they were fun. And before Fan Four Stick, I rewatched this one and Rise of the Silver Surfer because those are the only ones we had. Those were the only Fantastic Four movies we had, and that's the thing. Before they did the one with um, Michael B. Jordan and the guy from War Dogs and um, what else? He was in Project X and all these different other movies. Yeah, you had only this movie right here to go off of, and it was a fun movie to go off of, and it might not be in the 60s, but they did a modern take on it, and they took basically the true look of what Fantastic Four is and who they are. Now, they might not have the robot Herbie like they do in the new one coming up here soon, but everything else was pretty much accurate. They didn't have a baby coming up. Also didn't have a baby in this one, but that baby doesn't come till later on in the comics anyways. and it's the most powerful being in and the most powerful being in the Marvel universe. As essentially what I'm saying is this movie was pretty fantastic. As a rewatch, this was a fun rewatch. I enjoyed the rewatching of it. I haven't watched it in a while. It's been so long since I've seen Chris Evans as the Human Torch because I'm used to him being Captain America. We just saw him finish out being Captain America, and also we saw him again as the Human Torch in Deadpool and Wolverine. So like pretty much Deadpool 3, and the simple fact that Deadpool even made fun of the fact that he's going to say Avengers Assemble, but he actually said Flame On instead of Avengers Assemble because he's playing the Human Torch, and Chris Evans was willing to come back to do that for Deadpool and Wolverine. So it was just the fact that they also Deadpool and Wolverine was the end of the Fox and 20th Century Fox, like the X-Men and the Fantastic Four and whatever else was made. Um, Elektra and I think Daredevil, all anything that was made with 20th Century Fox, that was the end of that. Like the simple fact that they did that, saying goodbye to these characters because Deadpool's moving to the MCU and everyone else is moving into the MCU and they're rebooting this anyways. It was fun, but this is always going to be my Fantastic Four. No, I'm probably going to enjoy the new one, and it's probably going to be my new Fantastic Four as well. But this one's always going to have a place in my heart because I was a little kid. I was a junior high, I mean, sixth grade to junior high kid, excited to see something on the big screen like this, and it was fantastic, and it was still fantastic. We watching it, and again, it was a straight origin story, so really, you kind of got basically a superhero movie origin story, and then the second one, you got them already being established in the world, and we already know that the Thing can have super strength and clobber. We already know that Johnny Storm is a man that can catch himself on fire in an instant. We know that she can go invisible. We know he can stretch out his arms pretty wide. Now it's just them fighting off a cosmic being in the second one, which was a great thing to do, which I can't wait to watch. And and then also leading up to the new Fantastic Four. So hopefully I do see that the Friday or somewhere this weekend, but it's going to be great, and I can't wait to watch it. I can't wait to see what happens in this because Fantastic Four is just a fantastic movie. This one is, and just Fantastic Four itself is just fantastic. This might not be the quote unquote what they say for the new one, the first family, but this is pretty much the first family. I mean, like, this is the first group of, and before I'm closing, this is the very first group of superheroes that formed together besides the Avengers. Now, everyone thinks, oh, the Avengers, and like, they were, we got the Avengers, and they were like the first team of superheroes that got together and like, teamed up, and like, no, this is, I mean, in this movie, they made like you have Reed Richards and Ben Grimm um, know each other for a very long time. Same thing with Sue Storm, and then Johnny knew all these people too. But like Johnny was just the sister of Sue Storm, so basically like it wouldn't really matter if Johnny was there or not. Even same thing with Ben, because it's all about in the movie mainly. It's about their relationship, but all their relationships together too. But you get my point. Like, if it wasn't being a brother to bringing the brother of Sue Storm, or Ben Grimm being the friend of Reed Richard, they wouldn't even be there themselves. But they're there, and they're all interconnected. Um, and it's also fun how their chemistry. They're all scientists in their own rights. I mean, they all are scientists, and he was a pilot for NASA. So like, he was also the wild. I mean, Johnny Storm was the wild boy, and you have the bodyguard, which is Ben Grimm right there, and you have Sue Storm. That's just the nurturing woman of the group, and you have Reed Richards that was a thinker that has a bunch of things in his way, in his head, or variables that he has to go through across and stuff like that. And yeah, it's just a bunch of team of misfits, but it's also a family coming together to fight crime or take down Doctor Doom or take down Silver Surfer or whatever it may be in their comics or cartoons and all stuff like that. But you also might get some cartoon um, reviews of the episodes and maybe some comics. I do have some comics I still need to read. So, but mainly you're gonna get this movie review, rewatch, and you're gonna get another rewatch of Rise of the Silver Surfer. So, if you like this video, put a like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and deuces.